You may have heard it said that God has given us two books, the book of Scripture and the book of nature. And who is the author of these two books? God. So it makes sense that if God wrote these two books of Scripture and of nature, then they must be in agreement. There is truth that we can seek from these two books. And if God is the author and the books agree, why do science and faith seem pitted against each other so often? I think the answer comes down to simple misunderstandings. Have you ever had an argument with one of your siblings or one of your friends? What caused the argument? We are not perfect people, and we don't always get along, do we? I think a lot of times when we argue with someone that we love, the argument is caused by either a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. When we think about perceived tensions between science and faith, I think it's a very similar situation. Sometimes there are miscommunications that occur between science and faith. In science, we use tools to measure and explore God's creation. As scientists, we collect data that is objective. We look at facts, but then we have to interpret those facts. We have what we can observe, and then we have the interpretation of those observations. We have to apply what we know and our experiences as scientists in order to draw conclusions from those facts. In other words, we have to interpret our data. In faith, we use tools that need interpretation as well. We use the Bible to explore God's creation and to know Him better. Through the Bible, we come to learn about God and His redemptive power to save us through His Son, Jesus. And for our faith, we can use the Bible as an incredible tool. But in our quest to know God through this tool, we still have to accurately interpret Scripture. Thankfully, we're not alone to navigate this interpretation. We have spiritual mentors like our pastor or a family member, perhaps, to help us explore our faith through Scripture. And in this way, we can use Scripture to grow in our faith. I think the problem with science and faith is that as we interpret either of God's two books, we might be miscommunicating. The conflict between science and faith isn't with truth itself, because if you explore nature or Scripture in His name, there is truth to be found. The conflict that arises is due to misunderstandings in these interpretations. So what can we do about it? I think we need to be sound in our science and strong in His Word. Recognize what you can observe, either in nature or in Scripture, and be aware of what is left to interpretation. If you pursue Christ with honesty and integrity, you will see how these two books, written by the same author, align in a beautiful way that is God's creation.